اليوم بصفتي رئيس مجلس إدارة نيوم نقدم لكم The Line.
This is Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, otherwise known as MBS. He's considered the de facto ruler of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. MBS announced the futuristic megacity project called Neom back in 2017. To simplify what Neom would look like, he reached into his pocket and pulled out two mobile phones, an old phone and another newer smartphone.
This is what we're going to achieve in Neom.
Line in the sand, a head in the clouds, and a 100-mile linear metropolis of 9 million people, envisioned as a monument of human civilization. This is what Saudi Arabia's Neom is supposed to be.
It really wants Neom to be something that hasn't existed in the world before.
A city at the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced the plans for the Neom city at the Future Investment Initiative Conference in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, on October 24, 2017. He said it would operate independently from the existing governmental framework, with its own tax and labor laws, and an autonomous judicial system. Egypt announced in 2018 that it would contribute some land to the Neom project. It's going to be a futuristic city in the middle of a vast desert. The site covers an area of more than 10,000 square miles, and it could cost around $500 billion to complete. It is a vital element of the country's Vision 2030 plan. The first phase of the project is scheduled for completion by 2025. But why does Saudi Arabia is building a city in the middle of desert? And why is there a need of such a city, also with such an outstanding amount of money? And also what makes this city so different, that all world has eyes on it? Let's find out. But before that, if you like this type of content, then do hit the subscribe button, and also hit the bell icon. Also, if you like this video, then vote this up, so that YouTube knows you're enjoying what you're watching. The initiative to create the city of Neom emerged from Saudi Vision 2030, a plan to reduce Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil, diversify its economy, and develop public service sectors. Neom is a planned city on the Red Sea coast in the northwestern Saudi province of Tabuk. Neom is being called as what new future might look like by Saudi Arabia. The smart city will be free of cars and streets, and have zero carbon emissions, powered entirely by clean energy. It is a futuristic mega city 33 times the size of New York City. Plans have also called for robots to perform functions such as security, logistics, home delivery, and caregiving, and for the city to be powered solely with wind and solar power. This will be made possible by building two parallel skyscrapers that cut right through the desert for 170 kilometers long and 200 meters wide within the Neom area, and will be encased on all sides with gigantic mirrors, and the city would be called The Line. The project is based on a new concept of zero-gravity urbanism, which is the idea of layering city functions vertically, while enabling inhabitants to move seamlessly in three directions: up, down, and across. With a reduced infrastructure footprint, the line will have no roads, cars, or emissions, running on 100% renewable energy with 95% of land preserved for nature. The city is built to focus on health and well-being over transportation and infrastructure. The car-free city will be large enough to house 9 million residents within walkable communities, with all basic services within a 5-minute walking distance. The line will prioritize ultra-high-speed transit and autonomous mobility solutions, to ensure no journey takes longer than 20 minutes. The development work of the project's first phase, Neom Bay, was planned to start in the first quarter of 2019, and be completed by 2020. The developments were to include constructing the airport at Sharma, which would operate regular commercial flights between Riyadh and Neom. The plan of Neom Bay's developments also involves building the first residential area in Neom as part of Phase 1. In June 2019, it was announced that the Neom Bay Airport would start to receive commercial flights after the first phase of the airport was completed, with a runway length of 3,757 meters. The airport that is planned to be located at Neom Bay has been registered by the International Air Transport Association, IATA, with the code NUM. In addition to the line, the Saudi Arabia is also building a floating metropolis. Saudi Arabia is constructing the Oxagon, a floating metropolis it claims will revolutionize the global industrial sector, somewhere around the Red Sea, close to the Suez Canal. Oxagon, originally named Neom Industrial City, is a floating industrial complex shaped like an octagon. It is located around 25 kilometers north of the town of Duba, and covers roughly 250 square kilometers of land, of which approximately 40 square kilometers forms the city. The project will focus on modern manufacturing, industrial research, and development centered on expanding the Duba port. Mohammed bin Salman expects Oxagon to become a new focal point for global trade flows and service shipping routes through the Red Sea. The plans for the complex include a desalination plant, a hydrogen plant, and an oceanographic research center. It will also be home to the cognitive multinational company Autonomous, which is the first subsidiary company to evolve from Neom. On December 16, 2022, Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources, the Saudi Authority for Industrial Cities and Technology Zones, and Neom signed a memorandum of understanding to facilitate collaboration and legislation in support of Neom's Future Factories program. As of January 2023, Neom has not provided any information regarding how the complex will remain afloat. Tourist attraction of Trojena in Saudi Arabia is 50 kilometers from the shore of the Gulf of Aqaba and is a component of the nation's massive Neom project. On the 3rd of March 2022, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman launched the Trojena project, which will be the first major outdoor skiing destination in the Arabian Peninsula. It will be located in the Sarwat Mountains, with elevations ranging from 1,500 meters to 2,600 meters. It is about to undergo major transformations in preparation for the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Set to redefine mountain tourism, the 2026 Trojena project is situated in a region with below zero winter temperatures. Also in December 2022, Neom announced plans for Sindala, a 1,100,000 cubic yards luxury resort complex off the city coast. It is planned to have an 86-berth marina, 3 luxury hotels, and could accommodate up to 2,400 visitors daily. Neom also have plans for 6,500 hectares of the surrounding land to become agricultural fields, and to rely heavily on genetically engineered crops. With this, Saudi aims to reduce its food dependency on other countries. Surprisingly, Neom has already started making success as it has signed many international agreements to sustain such an heavy investment city, and also to advertise this city as such. In March 2020, Neom signed a partnership deal as a principal partner with Mercedes EQ Formula E team. 2 years later, Neom became the title sponsor for McLaren Racing's electric motorsport division, as Neom McLaren Electric Racing from the 2022-23 season, with McLaren's Formula E and Extreme E divisions, renamed as Neom McLaren Formula E Team and Neom McLaren Extreme E Team respectively. In July 2020, the USA's Air Products and Chemicals announced that it would build the world's largest green hydrogen plant in Saudi Arabia. Air Products will jointly own the $5 billion project, along with Saudi Arabia's ACWA Power and Neom. In March 2021, Neom signed a 4-year global sponsorship agreement with the Asian Football Confederation. Also in 2022, Neom hosted Extreme E's 2022 Desert X Prix, and held the naming rights to the series Island X Prix in Sardinia. In May 2022, Indian conglomerate Larsen & Toubro was awarded the contract for construction of a 2,930 megawatt solar power generation plant, a 1,370 megawatt wind power farm, a 400 megawatt battery energy storage system, along with a power transmission network of around 190 kilometers. And then in October 2022, Trojena was announced as the future host of the 2029 Asian Winter Games. Leading all this, you might be thinking Neom City has brought all the investment and publicity it needed, and is on its way to become successful, but with all that many eyes, controversies also came. It is estimated that 20,000 people will be forced to relocate to accommodate the planned city. The Hawatat tribe, who are native to the area, say that they are not opposed to the city itself, but rather the forced expulsion and subsequent violence. And from here, it started to gain negative publicity which might divert the upcoming investments. On the 13th of April 2020, activist Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti posted videos online announcing that Saudi security forces were trying to evict him and other members of the Hawatat tribe from their historical homeland, to make way for the development of Neom. In October 2022, the Specialized Criminal Court of Saudi Arabia sentenced 3 members of the Hawatat tribe to death for resisting displacement. The 3 men were arrested in 2020 for opposing the eviction of their tribe for the project. One of the condemned men, Shadli al-Hawiti, was the brother of Abdul Rahim al-Hawiti. This became a major international issue for Saudis in their Neom project. As in November 2020, British lawyers representing the Hawatat tribe urged Dominic Raab to boycott the G20 summit in Saudi Arabia, arguing that Britain has a moral imperative to take a stand in defense of the tribe, and confront Saudi Arabia over its human rights issues. So to counter situations like these, in June 2020, Mohammed bin Salman signed a $1.7 million contract with U.S. public relations and lobbying firm, Reuter Finn, to counter the criticism and controversies around the Neom City project. With all this projects, ideas, mega investments, words like floating cities, 100% renewable city, people are fascinated to see the neon city, but what they fail to see is that this is Saudi Arabia's desperate attempt to cope up with an economic nightmare. Yes, you heard that right. One of the richest nations in the world is facing an economic nightmare. But the question is, what is this hidden problem with Saudi Arabia? As here is a representation of the global oil prices, and this red line that you see, it indicates the price point at which Saudi Arabia can actually break even. But here you can see that since 2015, the oil prices have never crossed a break-even point at all, and assuming that the break-in point is still the same, it is only in the past 2 years post-COVID, and after the Russian invasion, that Saudis are profiting from oil trade, and that is because the oil prices have shot up. This is the reason why the Southeast wouldn't hesitate to support Russia to keep the war going. Secondly, this graph by British Petroleum clearly says that considering the fact that 4 out of the 6 biggest oil buyers in the world intend to achieve net zero targets by 2050, which will lead to the demand for oil to slow down by 71%. Meanwhile, as you can see from this graph, the cost of renewable energy has already started dropping below the fossil fuel levels. So with 46% of Saudi Arabia's GDP coming from oil itself, by 2050 when the oil price drops below $50 a barrel, it will no longer be viable for Saudi Arabia to sustain on oil. This is the second and the most obvious problem for Saudi Arabia, and this is the main reason behind Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 plan. This is the reason Saudi Arabia is looking to diversify its economy to sustain in near future. What are your thoughts on this? Will cities like these will ever be built or remain just as a plan? Let me know in comments. Also, if you like to watch any topic-related detailed case study, let me know the topic in comments.